In the spring of 536 AD, the sun rose. Shadows vanished at noon. Crops wilted before they sprouted. People looked up at a sky that seemed to have forgotten how to shine. And with that, the world entered what some scholars now call the worst year to be alive. Picture the world as it stood in early 6th century Europe, the Byzantine Empire, China and beyond. Empires still standing, trade routes humming, harvest cycles predictable. But beneath the surface, pressures were already mounting. Political cracks, military strains, shifting cultures. Then, seemingly overnight, nature intervened. In Constantinople, the chronicler Procopius recorded that the sun gave forth its light without brightness. Like the moon during the whole year, tree rings in Ireland, glaciers in the Alps, ice cores in Greenland, all deliver the same verdict. Something extraordinary, global, and deadly was happening. By spring of 536, a thick hazy veil of dust and sulfur aerosols had spread across the northern hemisphere. Ice core evidence shows dramatic peaks in sulfate deposits around 533 to 534 plus or minus 2 years, pointing to a massive volcanic eruption or cluster of eruptions as the culprit. The result, summer temperatures plunged by a way minus 2.5 degrees Celsius in Europe, the coldest decade in 2,300 years. In China, snow fell in summer. In Scandinavia, tree rings collapsed. But it wasn't just cold. The sun had lost its fire. Roman senator Cassiodorus wrote of a bluish sun, the moon dull, the seasons all mixed up. Farmers planted seeds that never sprouted. Famine stalked the land. Hear us a lesser-known anecdote. Some Norse legends of the so-called Fimbul winter, the mythic 3 years of winter that precede Ragnarok, may echo the chilling memory of the 6th century cold. In Scandinavia, recent research links cooling in 536 to 542, that mythic motif. What did this mean for individuals? In Ireland, oak tree ring records show dramatically narrow growth in 536, a sign of severe environmental stress. In the Byzantine Empire, food stores emptied. In the Middle East, villages were abandoned. One Syriac bishop, John of Ephesus, recounts, "There was a sign from the sun, the like of which had never been seen. The sun became dark, and its darkness lasted for 18 months. Famine brings more than hunger. Migration, unrest, political instability followed. The effect rippled beyond Europe. In Central Asia, the cooling likely triggered movements of peoples and shifts in power. Meanwhile, cue the next disaster. In 541 AD, the plague of Justinian broke out, wiping out perhaps 30–50% of the Eastern Roman Empire's population within a decade. Many historians link the weakened societies of the 530s to the capacity of the plague to devastate. One surprising detail, in one Swiss alpine ice core, chemical traces suggest not one but 2 major eruptions, one in 536, second in 540, and a third smaller one in 547, extending the suffering across decades. The story isn't just European. In China, records note snow and summer and famine, though fewer direct sources outside Eurasia survive. Climate proxies show the chilling was hemispheric. The period following 536 marks the start of the so-called Late Antique Little Ice Age, a multi-decadal cold spell stretching into the 7th century. In the grand sweep of history, the 530s mark a turning point. Empires shaken, trade disrupted, climate changed. The human cost was enormous. Millions died, whole regions destabilized. Yet the event is lesser known to many viewers today. One lesser-heard story, in Peru, around that same time. The Mocha culture experienced dramatic social stress and climatic disturbance. Scholars suggest the 536 eruption may have had even wider-reaching effects across oceans. So what does 536 AD teach us? It's more than just we survived. It reminds us of the delicate weave of climate, society, and nature. How one giant eruption, a veil of dust across the skies, can tip the world into famine, disease, migration, and collapse. The phrase "the worst year to be alive" comes from historian Michael McCormick, who said 536 was the beginning of one of the worst periods to be alive, if not the worst year. It also offers a mirror for us, in our age of climate risk and interconnected societies. The story of 536 is not just ancient, It is a warning. The sky turned gray, crops failed, people died, but eventually humanity adapted, moved on, rebuilt. You're watching this now. Live in part because those survivors adjusted. And if you thought 2020 or 1918 were bad years, think again. Because 536 reminds us, sometimes the worst year isn't in our memory. It's buried in the ice, the tree rings, the annals of forgotten scribes. That's where the story lies.